Hello class 9. So yesterday in our previous video we were discussing about skeleton. We have already discussed the function. So yesterday I told you that human skeleton can be divided into two major divisions, axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. Okay, now like I told you, axial skeleton consists of skull, then vertebral column, then you have sternum and ribs, right? And this forms the main skeletal system. Okay, and appendicular skeletons consist of limbs. Humans have two pairs of limbs, forelimbs and hind limbs. Okay, and girdles. There are two types of girdles in human body: hip girdle and shoulder girdle. What is the role of this girdle? The girdle helps in connecting the limbs to the main skeletal system, that is to the axial skeletal system. So today we will be taking up first about skull. Okay, so what is skull? Skull is the skeleton in your head region. Okay, the skeleton in your head region is known as skull. It has two major portions: cranium, the upper portion of the skull which protects your brain is your cranium, and then rest are your facial bones, the bones present in your facial regions. There are about 8 bones in a cranium, okay, and they are joined permanently. That's why it suggests an example of immovable joints. Okay, so this cranium, what does it do? It protects your brain. Then you have facial bones. You have about 14 facial bones, 14 bones present in the facial region. Okay, now behind the cranium you have a hole or aperture like structure through which your spinal cord emerges out. As we know that spinal cord, it's an elongation of medulla oblongata, and it runs throughout your vertebral column. So it emerges out from the aperture or hole like structure present on behind the cranium, and that hole like structure is referred to as foramen magnum. Okay, so that's all about skull. Next we will be discussing about vertebral column. Okay, now vertebral column, it's not a continuous one long bone. Okay, now vertebral column is formed by 33 bones, and the one single bone is referred to as vertebrae. So 33 vertebrae makes up the vertebral column. Okay, what is the function of the vertebral column? The function of the vertebral column is to protect your spinal cord. Spinal cord runs within your vertebral column. Okay, now let us discuss the structure of a single vertebrae. Before we go through the structure of a vertebrae, let us discuss the different regions of a vertebral column. Now your vertebral column, depending upon its location, it can be divided into 5 different types. Cervical, it is present in the neck region. Okay, you have 7 bones. Out of that, the first bone is named atlas and the second one is named axis. Other 5, they do not have a particular name. They are present in the neck region. Then you have thoracic. This is present in a thoracic cavity, and then it helps, this vertebral column is attached to the ribs. Okay, then you have lumbar. 5 bones makes up the lumbar region. Okay, and this helps in attachment of the back muscles. Okay, then you have next is your sacrum. Sacrum is made by fusion of 5 bones. Okay, then you have coccyx. It is made by the fusion of 4 bones. Coccyx is also termed as rudimentary. tails. Okay, the human tail, it's the last part of a backbone. It's also termed as rudimentary tail. So that's all about the different regions of the vertebral column. Now we will carry forward with the structure of vertebrae. So this is the structure of a thoracic vertebrae. Now if you look at any vertebrae, you will find few distinct structure which is present in all the vertebrae. Number one is it has a cylindrical solid bone, also referred to as centrum. Now your centrum is flat from both the sides. Okay. Now from centrum emerges a neural arch, thus forming a neural canal on the dorsal side. Okay, through this neural canal only your spinal cord runs through. Now your neural arches joins together, and the points where they meet, they forms a longitudinal ridge projecting upward. Now that longitudinal ridge is known as neural spine, and from your neural arches, like you can see in this figure, arises two projections, sidewise projection. Now that is referred to as transverse processes. Now on the neural arches, on the both the side, one in the front and another in the behind, it has articular facets. Articular facets means it's like a depression. Okay, depression in the bone region for attachment, its attachment to the other parts. Like in case of thoracic part, articulate facet helps in attachment to the ribs. Okay, or in case of lumbar, it helps in attachment to the back of a muscle. And in between the vertebrae, you will find a pad of cartilage, also referred to as intervertebral disc or gristle. It forms a kind of cushion between the two vertebrae, so that in actions such as bending or in case of any kind of movement, when your vertebrae is showing a partial movement, joints in a vertebrae is showing a partial movement, because of friction they do not get rubbed up. So it forms like a cushion in between the vertebrae. Coming to ribs, now you have 12 pairs of ribs. You have 12 pairs of ribs. Okay, out of 12 pairs of ribs, the last two pairs are not attached to the sternum or the chest bone. That's why they are also referred to as floating ribs, and the rest other is referred to as true ribs, because they directly or indirectly are attached to the sternum, or also referred to as a chest bone or breast bone. Okay, now what is the role of the rib? The role of rib is to protect internal organs such as heart or lungs. Okay, so that's all about your axial skeleton. In our next class, we will be discussing in detail about appendicular skeleton. Thank you.